Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Megaman's Legends. And here today, I'm feeling like throwing up the two sign right now, man.
Too sweet.
The too sweet. It is too sweet at the moment, man. Yeah. This is such a really, really sweet episode. We all came off the jet.
Yeah. Start the guitar sound going.
Started the guitar sound. We had to trim the fat.
Yeah.
In terms of some folks, we had to kick out Luger, and we're doing some collusion stuff, and Virgil, rest his soul. No.
Oh yeah, can't forget Virgil.
Got to kick them out. Had to kick them out of the group, the NWO. But welcome everybody, my brother Joe RenoMD.
Howdy, folks.
What is going on, man? How you been doing?
Happy to be here. I'm doing good, man. You?
I'm great, man. Thank you for joining and being a part of this podcast, man. Like, I really wanted you to be on this one, and I'm honored that you are on this episode. So, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. Yeah. Thanks for. It sounds like you got a lot of cool legends, literally. So happy to be part of it.
I did, and I mean, you're totally one of them. So therefore, I definitely needed to know your story. So why don't we get into it, right?
Sure.
So tell me, where did it all begin for you? When did you started? Like, when the gaming started for you?
Oh, like gaming in general?
Yeah, in general.
Okay. Let's see. I think I was like 3, maybe 4. I forget how old I was. My mom was dragging us around the PX because we were. My dad's former military, so we were able to go on base to buy stuff, and came across I think it was the Nintendo Entertainment System that had the robot operating buddy, Rob.
Yeah.
And I was like, can I please, bratty little begging for it. And they eventually, got it for me because, they thought, oh, maybe this will keep him busy. I think the first memories I have of playing any video game was Punch-Out on the NES. And I had no idea what I was doing, but I was having a lot of fun doing it. I'm pretty sure I got destroyed by even Glass Joe as a kid. Von Kaiser, definitely. I was having a lot of fun. So that's probably where gaming started for me. It's just very young, NES era, a lot of classic games. Mario, of course, Punch-Out, Duck Hunt, all those types of games, and that's sort of where that love for video games began for me.
Oh man, it's funny because that's where NES started. That was my first console that I started with.
Yeah.
And my first game that I played on that was Super Mario Bros. 3.
Oh, 3? That's such a good game.
It really is. And I've been saying it for the longest, and people usually try to fight me on it in terms of, people think which is the best, classic Mario game. And I feel like, I feel like 3 is by far the best one, only because, you had the frog suit, you had the Tanuki suit, which kind of turns into stone, by the way.
Yeah.
And then the fact that you had a lot of boards in that one. Each world, okay, maybe from World 1, you had 6 or 7, but then when you get to World 5, you literally had 10 to almost 11, including the castle. Actually, more than that. And I'm it's crazy because there's a lot like a lot of boards in 3, but the frog suit was pretty revolutionary because you get to swim, right? You get to swim, and you get to swim with it, and whatever of those underwater, stages that you had to do, it just was so easy to deal with.
What do you think? No, okay, I will actually join you on that hill. I know people like to put World as the top 2D platforming experience.
Yeah.
But when I was a kid, like when we had Mario 3, and that was amazing, and you had, like, my favorite was the Hammer Brothers suit. Oh. Because it would just destroy everything, like, and you could, like, protect yourself from fireballs by ducking and stuff.
Yeah.
I was a big fan of that and the Tanuki suit with the down B, I think, to turn into stone in air, or was it like select or something? I think it was, I forget how you did it, but
it's down B.
Yeah.
It's down B. And not to mention, not only here's another fun fact with the Hammer Bros, right? Like you said, it definitely destroys everything, like the swamps and everything. And you said, you can, with the fireballs, you get to
you get to protect yourself from them.
But you can but little that folks know, you can actually throw the hammer towards that that fireball that comes out of the lava. And you can kill them with that too.
Yeah.
Like the hammer suit was virtually like invincible. Like literally invincible.
You felt really good in it, and you didn't want to lose it.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, but okay. So like when I was a kid, we played Mario 3. I loved it. It was like my favorite game at that point ever released. Maybe second to Legend of Zelda, but still really, like my favorite platformer of all time. And then we get Mario World, and I'm like, cool, Yoshi, that's awesome. And then we get a feather, which gives us a cape.
Right.
And then we still have the fire flower and stuff. But there's like that, that's it, other than like the different color Yoshis. I was like, wow, they took a lot out of Mario, right? Because you had like all sorts of suits, like the frog suit, the Hammer Brothers suit, the Tanuki suit, all those suits, Raccoon Mario, and they kind of like scaled it back a bit. I mean, they had Yoshis with different features, with different colors, and the different colored turtle shells that would simulate like the different colored Yoshis. But like, it felt like, in some ways, as a kid, I was like, oh man, they took away some of my favorite things from Mario 3, and that kind of bummed me out a little bit with Mario World. So, like, I would say that I do like Mario 3 more than Mario World.
Yeah.
I think part of it is that people like the like Mario World did add like the secret zones and stuff and secret exits.
Yeah.
And probably had, I guess, more platforming challenges and such to make it like what they would view as the better platformer. But I just felt like they took a lot out of it, and it seemed like, Super Nintendo, more power, should have more stuff. Maybe as a kid back then that was a little naive, but it seemed like it was missing something compared to 3.
I agree with you. I think where I agree with you with that part in terms of the extra world, because they were more world, including Star Wars.
Oh yeah.
They were totally more world, and then there was that hidden world that was there also. So
and
I can understand that.
Very, if you're looking for a challenge, those levels were like it. Like Gnarly, I think, was the one with the balloons you had to go through.
Yep.
And that enraged me as as a kid growing up, trying to beat it, and like getting hit by the stupid spread fire from the flowers on the blocks, and you're trying to just float across this entire stage. Yes, I think definitely it's a better challenge. I just think Mario 3 is a better game.
Yes.
Do you want to hear my platformer hot take that is sure to please all your fans?
Oh, do tell.
Or at least half your fans. I don't think there's been a good Sonic the Hedgehog game ever. I don't think there's ever been, except for Sonic Spinball. I like Sonic Spinball, but I don't think there's been a good Sonic the Hedgehog game, like,
ever.
And the reason why it sucks now, like why they can't make a good Sonic the Hedgehog game, is because there was not enough in the original to like modernize it, right? Like it's kind of a, I don't know, like going fast is a neat gimmick, but like you can't if you want to have like platforming challenges. So then as a platformer it's like mediocre, but then the whole draw of it was that you would go fast, but you can't do that if you're going to like have a challenge to the game. I don't know, that's just my opinion. I'm sure your fans will like really enjoy that.
So wait, hold on. Now I got a question. I do have a question about that because I love Sonic 2, right? I love Sonic as well.
Wait,
so
which one's your favorite?
Okay, so if I were to list my top 3 Sonic ever, right? Actually, top 4. Actually, top 5. Let me do top 5. Top 5. If I were to list my
Sonic
top 5, well, Sonic Spinball is on top 5, but Sonic Spinball is number 5. Then,
I was gonna say number 1. But
no. Sonic Spinball is number 5. Then Sonic 3 and Knuckles would be number 4. Then
Wait, you're talking about the attachment thing?
The attachment, yes.
Okay.
Because regular Sonic 3, I mean, it's roughly the same. It's just it doesn't have the extra boards on top of it, and then there's no Knuckles. So
right, yeah.
That's why I have to say Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Then 2 would be Sonic 2, actually, and then number 2 would be Sonic Adventure 1, and number 1 would be Sonic Adventure 2.
Okay, Sonic Adventure. Oh, with like Biggs the cat. And
Biggs the cat and Amy and all that stuff. Yes.
Wait, is 2 the Shadow? Is that where Shadow came in?
Yeah, Shadow. Yeah, Shadow. Yeah, Mr. Emo, Shadow the Hedgehog.
Yeah. Wait, did he have a gun back then, or was that?
That was pre-gun. Pre-gun. And then I remember Sega released Shadow the Hedgehog, and my lord, what a mess that game was! Oh my god!
Yeah.
It made it. And so let me say this: it made him look cool. I'm not gonna lie, it made him look cool. But my god, that game defeated the whole purpose of that hedgehog. It's supposed to be A, fast, B, have a homing attack, 3, have a light dash, and then do chaos control. My man was on motorcycles. My man was on motorcycles, boats, more motorcycles.
Yeah.
The fact that he had a glider, and for God's sakes, my man had a submachine gun. Yo, come on! I was like, yo, I'm like to myself with Sega. I'm like, yo, who write this shit? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, who does that? Like, I love Shadow.
Yeah.
I think he's virtually. I'm gonna say, I think he's virtually the coolest character within the Sonic universe. But it's just they ruined him with this whole why he needs guns and stuff, bro. Like that makes zero sense towards me.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I feel like Sega in general has kind of lost the sauce in terms of being able to like make a Sonic game, like a 3D Sonic game. To me, seems like the hardest thing to do, because they always release like I think 1 and 2 Adventure are like the highest rated, and then after that it's been kind of complete. Well, I haven't played the open world Sonic game, so I can't,
like Frontiers.
Yeah, I can't really speak to that, but
it's not bad. It seems like it's not bad. It's actually good. Well, so it's good, but it's not Sonic Adventure good.
Oh, okay. So it sounds like it's okay with a shallow experience.
Pretty much.
Which is my entire opinion of Sonic as a franchise.
Pretty much, yeah. I think the only game So I think the only game that I feel like that came close to adventure-esque type of but it didn't quite get it, would be Sonic Heroes. But other than
Sonic
that,
Heroes?
Yeah, Sonic Heroes. That's the game that came out on, was it GameCube? Yes, it was on GameCube. So that one, you know, pretty good game. But the problem was the team tandem was just janky. That's the problem. So it was pretty janky, and the storyline was pretty horrible. So
wait, is Sonic Heroes the one with like Sonic was he wearing like a scarf now or something?
Nah.
Was that a different one?
That was a different one, yeah.
Okay.
I think that
that was based on the cartoon.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one I'm thinking of. I don't remember what it was called, but they've released a lot of crap Sonic 3D games since Adventure 2, I would say. And it hasn't helped the cause for the franchise, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, aside from 2, I mean, people would argue like Sonic Adventure 1 is better than 2, but it is because of the whole voice acting in 2. But I mean, I know the voice.
Just because it's cringe, I guess.
Yeah, it is pretty cringe. It is pretty cringe. But my God, bro, Sonic Adventure 2, the stages is incredible. Even to the boss battles, it was so good. It was way too good. But I mean, that's my top 5. And honestly, but I will agree with you in terms of they haven't made a really good Sonic game. But I will disagree with you in terms of saying, okay, they haven't really made a good Sonic game since the Adventure series. So, I mean, Spinball is goated. Not gonna lie, it is a goated game.
Spinball is really good, and like people sleep on it. Like when I say that it's my favorite, I'm not being ironic. Like, it's a really good game. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm not trying to, you know, like, because I hate on Sonic a lot. But like, when I say Sonic Spinball is a good game, I'm not denigrating the other games to say that. I'm saying that because I honestly think it's a good game. But yeah, other Sonic games, complete garbage.
It is true. It is true. It is very true. So, aside from that, right?
Yeah.
No. Don't even apologize. It's good to know because I know people will say something about that in the chat. So therefore,
I'm sure Zoolander is ready to. He's typing up his response right now.
Oh, you mean his thesis?
Yeah. He's got his essay ready to post.
Oh man. So, tell me, aside from the general gaming, right? Now, let's kind of talk about fighting games. Like, when did you get into fighting games afterwards, really?
Okay, this one I can actually point to with a specific memory. Okay, so when my dad had bowling leagues on Thursday, he would bring me and my brother along, and he would give us some money to go play in the arcade because the bowling alley had an arcade in it. And it's basically just like, get out of my hair, go play some games. And you know, for a long time, you know, we'd play games like I think back then it was like the era of like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade game, which was like one of my favorite arcade games in general of all time. The Simpsons arcade game. You remember that X-Men, it's Captain America and the Avengers game? Yeah. And it had Captain America and Iron Man and I think a Nightcrawler in it as well. I forget all of them, but you know, those types of games, NBA Jam. Yeah, so you know, I enjoyed playing at the arcades a lot back then. And then I think one night I went to the arcade area, like when my dad went to start his bowling, and there was a crowd gathered around a particular cab, and I like went to look at it, and there's this game called Street Fighter 2, and this is like the original World Warrior game. and it was like there was a guy like installing it, like as people were just like sitting around watching this game, he's just trying to get everything set up, get everything like plugged in and working and testing it, and like there's already a crowd. So I'm not sure if this was back when like World Warrior had already been released and it was very popular and the arcade was just now getting it, or if people were just intrigued by this new game and they were just trying to check it out. But it seemed like there was a large crowd, larger than normal, and I was curious, and like I remember the guy was testing it and he just like started a game, and it was Ryu and Ken on Dalsum stage, or Ryu as we called him back then. And you know, they were just like staring at each other because he was just like making sure the game was working. He wasn't testing any buttons at that point, so they're just staring at each other, and I'm like, what is this game about? Like, why are they just staring at each other and they're bouncing up and down because they're doing their idle pose? You know, I was just very curious, and then like he finished and people started playing, and I'm like, oh, you know, because before those games I mentioned, except for like NBA Jam and such, which might have come out after. I might be mixing up my memories here, but like, you know, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Simpsons were like co-op games, and you're playing to beat the computer. You know, you're playing to beat the game with like friends in co-op. Yeah. This is the first game I ever saw where you're like, oh, I'm trying to beat this other guy next to me. Like, this is new. This is weird. And like, yeah, like that was my first ever experience with a fighting game in general. Was just World Warrior showing up at my arcade. I never heard of it before. I'm like, where's Street Fighter 1? Like, this is called Street Fighter 2. I've never heard of this game before. Where's Street Fighter 1? And yeah, like, as soon as I started playing it, it kind of like, oh wow, this is fun. People were doing like special moves, and they're like, you can't throw me, that's cheap. You know, people were you had like house rules in the arcade, which is funny. And you had people who would help you, but also people who wouldn't help you because they didn't want to, like, they wanted to keep their quarter. But it was the first time I ever gotten into any fighting game, and it was World Warrior. So that was kind of like an amazing time. Like, you learn the etiquette, put your quarter up, and you're up when your quarter's up. Get your ass beat, and then get to the back of the line, put your quarter up, you know, that kind of thing. I had a lot of good memories of that. It was a lot of fun. A lot of people like complaining if I used Chun-Li and I would only use like medium kick, and they're like, why do you only use medium kick? And I'm like, why are you losing? You know, I'm losing, you know, that kind of thing. You know, first bit of like trash talk, because, you know, this is like a competitive game. You didn't really have that from the other arcade games at the time.
No.
Yeah.
You didn't have that, but I mean, I find it interesting in terms of that. Like, well, arcade etiquette has been around for friggin' decades in terms of how you put your quarter up, you get your next. I mean, it depends on if you win, you stay on, you lose. Well, you go to the back of the line and no exceptions, basically. Yeah, exactly. And obviously back then, you know, you pretty much had this is going back to me as a kid. I would say, like, you had the no throwing rule where you can't throw. You throw, you're gonna get jumped one way or another. And basically, you'd be asking yourself, you'd be like, man, why are these dudes trying to chase me down? Well, you're getting grabbed. Yeah. You were grabbing. And that's like the unwritten rule, basically. Yeah. So yeah, like you're like a low kick and then throw. You can't beat that. That's cheap. You can't do that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you gotta be a man. Yeah, you gotta be a man. It's all about footsies. Yeah. And, you know, that's it. And it's funny because I feel like that's really, you know, I want to say that's like the spawn of where footsies began. basically by not throwing. And if you try to throw, you was gonna get your ass whooped one way or another. So it's like, it's funny because people like that. That's why characters like Zangief would have to been banned back then, because all he knew how to do was to grab. So therefore, you see nobody use his ass back then. But it's, I mean, it's very unfortunate, to say the least. But
yeah, I mean, back then people weren't. Well, at my arcade, it was just like, oh wow, I don't think anyone could master this character Zangief. So it's like, oh, you can actually, no one can do a 360, So it's like, okay, you get a pass, right? Because like at that point, nobody like really knew the game. Like it was like a complete fresh release of a new genre, and people were just kind of like learning how to play the game. Like people couldn't, like, to me at that point, the best person was this guy who could consistently do fireballs and dragon punches,
right?
Or like sonic booms and blast kicks, which was another, oh man, this guy's cheap. He's just waiting all the time with guile. Like, look at this coward just camping, playing like a little coward, but it was, that, I guess that does make sense that, if you're not using throws, you're kind of limiting yourself, and then that would lead to some interesting techniques to spawn, like footsies. That does make sense logically. So, yeah. So, despite the fact that I'm a pad player, I did start in the arcade, and I got pretty good at doing like fireballs and dragon punches. I mainly played Ryu, as I called him, but I wasn't like, beyond that, I wasn't like super understanding at that point of like spacing or anything, or like frame traps. No one really knew what that was. So back then it was just like, oh, I could play on an arcade. That's where I started. And then my dad got out of the bowling league, and then we didn't have an excuse to go to the arcade anymore. Mm-hmm. So then for a while I was just playing NES and SNES games, and then Street Fighter 2 they announced for SNES, and we immediately got it as soon as it was released. It was like a $70-something cartridge, because it was like super popular. And then we would play at home. Me and my brother, sometimes we would have the Vietnamese kids live down the street come join to play. And yeah, that's kind of where they had the training mode, I think, for that release. I forget if it was training mode or just me playing 2-player mode with no one on the other controller, just to learn the game, right. Increase my tech skill and stuff. Still thinking tech skill is the way to win. If I can do a dragon punch all the time, then no one can beat me. And that's sort of where the pad play was where I became most comfortable, right. Because from then on we played at home. We would get the Street Fighter 2 Turbo release on SNES, and then Super Street Fighter 2, even Alpha 2 at that point. We weren't going to arcades, because I think at some point we moved from California to Virginia, and we moved in the middle of nowhere. So there were no arcades at all near where we lived. It was farmland and stuff. It was 30 minutes from civilization. So to play Alpha 2, we had to play at home on the SNES, and I got good to the point where I could beat the computer on the hardest difficulty and get the Shin Akuma in Alpha 2. Still using Ryu at that point. But yeah, not actually like playing anyone in Street Fighter, just playing Street Fighter is like I would play like Super Metroid or something, just as like a single player experience, which is kind of wild to think about now. One thing I wanted to go back on is when you talk about the arcade etiquette. This is kind of jumping topics, but one thing I wish Fightcade would do is copy like so HD Remix had the same concept of a lobby, basically like people waiting in front of a cab, and winner stays, loser gets off. And I really like that concept in HD Remix. I wish Fightcade would copy that, so I'm not playing one person for 50 rounds, and like, you know, I could get some like variety in terms of you know, like, you know, mix it up as you're playing through sets. You know, I do wish Fightcade would implement that as part of like, you know, a callback to arcade etiquette, because I think HD Remix did that really well.
I agree, and HD Remix lobby was pretty damn good, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it had voice comms and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It had the voice comms and everything like that, so it was very good.
You could have people raging at you while you're playing someone else. You know, just you know, you could just talk with someone who's like just waiting for their turn, and you're just, you know, shooting the shit. And I just like the fact that you get a whole bunch of different games in, but you're still like, you know, you can and you also get to watch without having to do anything like bring up a spectating window. And,
yeah.
You know, it would just come up.
No, I agree with you. I feel like they should have brought that back in HDR. I liked HDR because of that reason, but also HDR, you know, I mean, I know we're jumping topics though, but
yeah,
I feel like, you know, HDR was one of those games that you know, it received interesting hate, but then at the same time, it was actually a really good game. At the same time, I'm like, it was virtually the same. It's just that, I mean, you had like the updated artwork, to say the least, and and the artwork was like, okay, was it kind of did it feel unnecessary? Maybe, but you know, there's people who like to see the updated artwork of pretty much of Street Fighter in the first place.
I thought it was nice that they tried.
Exactly,
like, they didn't just try to slap on like a filter on the original sprites and up-res, right?
Yep. They didn't.
Yeah, I thought it was good that they tried.
I thought it was cool too. It's just that I felt like, you know, going from a scientific standpoint, they basically said, yeah, the artwork, the HDR graphics makes all the hitboxes, changes all the hitboxes and everything.
Yeah, like how?
I mean, because the artwork, because, you know, apparently people's muscles looking pretty out of shape and all that kind of stuff. But I would say overall, right, HDR, like, I would totally play HDR again. I just don't have a CRT, which, you know, that's another thing. I mean, I'm sick of the CRT talk, but, you know, I'm really sick of it because, you know, I had a CRT before, but I think CRTs is just so overrated, to be honest.
Right. With you. Yeah, no, I would agree. I don't want to lug around a 50-pound monitor everywhere. That's why I got a was it the RetroTink 4K?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's something that will give you the same feel as a CRT, the same, like it up-reses to 4K 60 to reduce the input lag as much as possible, and gives you the same kind of filters so that, you know, the games look like they're playing on a CRT, because, you know, some, you know, games back then assumed that CRT look to like make the sprites look better.
Exactly. And I got it. And I have one too. Plug that sucker in the monitor into the monitor that I ironically bought from you.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, was it the Asus?
Yeah, the Asus ROG. The Asus ROG monitors. Yep.
Yeah. And the one with G-Sync, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And I friggin' love it. So
yeah, it's an amazing monitor.
It really is. It's an amazing monitor, and I'm like, I don't feel no lag, nothing. I like people like, oh well, you get the native signal, you get the native color. Ooh, yeah, sure, whatever. Yeah, that's all I'm gonna just say. Whatever.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. Like I don't miss like CRTs at all because we have way better monitors these days, and I'm glad that we have things like the Mr. FPGA project. That providing like a way to get higher res graphics out of games that are older. Being able to play at 1080p or things like the RetroTink being able to upscale to 4K. Even for like my Xbox 360, it can do that because it has HDMI in.
Yes.
And that's amazing. I have a nice 65-inch OLED, and I love it because it looks amazing. I don't like. Can you imagine even like 27-inch CRT and how much that would weigh? Yeah, compared to this OLED, but like, yeah.
I lift it up, and I'm a strong dude. But man, that's like it feels like carrying like a bag of bricks. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
But like, man, oh man.
Yeah.
Man, oh man, I'm sick of it. I'm like, I can understand you want the clean signal because it's a native signal and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Big friggin' deal. That's all I'm gonna just say.
Yeah.
Big deal.
I mean, the advantage is that it doesn't have any processing, and it's just literally a raw output of video. But man, I logistically, it's a nightmare to deal with, especially in tournaments. I mean, and I dealt with that in like Melee, like, because Melee Melee is like a game where, it's like the same deal. People want to play on CRT because any hint of lag, and it's just like, oh, I can't play. Like, I can't do my shuffle, drill shine, wave shine combos into like, up air.
You know what? So now that you mention it, let's talk about that, right?
Yeah.
In terms about Melee.
Oh yeah.
Because I know during our talks you would bring up Melee. Like I know for a fact you were good. How did you get into it?
Okay, yeah. So like I guess it kind of began in college. I wanted I had a GameCube, and I was like, I never played Smash 64 or anything. I didn't play a lot of 64 at that point because I was like on the PlayStation train at that point. But I was a big fighting game fan. My brother would get like a Saturn and we would play like 97 and such, but it was like just between us. We weren't playing competitively or anything. But when I went to college, I was like, oh, you know what I should get? I should get like party games. And so I got stuff like Point Blank 3, and then that was a light gun game on PlayStation. That was a lot of fun. But then I was like, okay, maybe I'll get this game called Smash Brothers because it's like a 4-player like fighting game, quote unquote. And like I'd have a lot of fun playing it, like with people in the dorms. Like it's just like something we could do to blow off steam. And then I sort of discovered that first thing is like we would trash talk each other a lot. So like I was like, I want to get good so I can like beat these assholes. And like I would play Kirby at that point, who I didn't know at that point was like maybe like the worst character in the game, maybe the second worst. But I was like, I learned how to do, like, how to play the game, quote unquote, at that point. This is before I learned anything about L canceling or anything like that. But I learned how to, like, if you held the ledge, the other person couldn't grab the ledge, and you had like some invulnerability, so that if they tried to grab the ledge, if you rolled off of it, they still couldn't grab it, and also they couldn't hit you while you're rolling off of the ledge. So I learned stuff like that, and then I started, beating up my friends, and then it was just me and one friend left who were like rivals at that point. He'd play Sheik, who was one of the best characters in the game, and we would have like constant arguments between each other over like, I'm like, your character's so cheap, man, because I could tell even back then that Sheik was like very powerful, and he's like, no man, you don't understand, like I have to think of so much to be able to like beat you. And we would like get into heated arguments, kind of like me and you when we were talking about Dictator versus Geef.
Yeah.
And like how much we hate each other's characters. Yeah, and then we would play, and then I was like, I wonder if like there's anyone who's like really good at this game. So I started looking up videos on like Direct Connect. If you remember that.
Man, oh my lord, Direct Connect, what a good P2P.
Yeah,
oh my god,
a great client because it had like the IRC thing built in, and you could chat with people, and download stuff from, and you wouldn't get viruses because it was like a niche.
You want to know a fun fact about Direct Connect from my experience? Not to mention, IRC, you totally get to chat from there, right?
Yeah.
But in terms of like finding games, right?
Oh,
when I was like, I was heavy into like downloading games, getting the verbatim CD, DVD, burning it with Disc Juggler. So I would say, I would say majority of my Dreamcast, PlayStation 1 games came directly from Direct Connect. And I remember because I was introduced, it's funny how I got into that. I was introduced to that by my uncle, right? Because he's a DJ, but the thing is, he was like into like downloading a lot of songs because he kind of needed it for his rack and everything.
Oh, so right. Yeah. He would, MP3s.
Yeah, so he had to download a bunch of songs and everything like that. But the problem was, it was like, well, during the time you had that whole Napster ordeal that happened.
Yeah.
So
Napster, yeah.
Yeah, that whole Napster ordeal happened back then, and then now you have to find another outlet to try to get your songs and everything. So during the time, you had like back then you had like during that time the Direct Connect, you had LimeWire, you had LimeWire, Kazaa. Wait, what was that on there? Oh, yep.
There was WinMX.
WinMX. There was BearShare. There was Soul.
Yeah, BearShare. Yeah.
There was SoulSeek.
Donkey. And
yep. Oh my God. Oh my.
Yeah.
Yo.
And I was like, which one is the one that's bad again? Because the one is like good and the other one is like full of viruses. I always forget which one it was.
So for what I remember LimeWire and Kazaa were the two that you get a full of viruses from.
Oh yeah.
It was like those two were a straight up 50-50.
Spyware. Yeah.
It was a straight up 50-50 because you had to guess between, okay, is this legit? Because even though the file size says that it's over 500 megs, you don't know if it's actually the right thing you need. So during the time, you'll have to go to... I remember he introduced me to Direct Connect because there was a time that he was also into like burning games too, because he had some friends. Like he was the one that kind of figured out the whole how you were able to use how you were able to burn games then kind of, you know, swap the disc inside the,
Right.
you know, swap the disc in the Dreamcast with the boot disc. Same thing with the PlayStation 1. He was the one that figured it out. And then he was like, yo, man, you got to go on this right here, which is Direct Connect. Talk to this person right here. Oh, he got this? Yeah, we talked with them. He shared this. And by the way, it took a year and a day, by the way. It did took a year and a day, sometimes less. I mean, it was less than that. I'm not exaggerating. Because the P2P download speed was completely ass. So, therefore, you kind of had to be real patient. Leave the computer on overnight to make sure it worked.
Yeah.
And then you have to tell the person who you're getting the file from, yo, make sure you leave your PC on. Because if you don't, it kind of turns off, and then next thing you know, the connection gets severed, and then the file becomes corrupted, and you have to do it all over again. Oh
yeah,
my
man.
God.
Good memories. Yeah.
It really was.
Please don't pick up the phone. I'm trying to download something.
Oh my God, yeah, man.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I can only imagine, man. If only direct. I mean, I wouldn't know if Direct Connect still exists. I highly doubt it, but
I don't know. Like, I haven't looked into it in a while.
I haven't looked into it either.
Once they shut down the Smash Board's Direct Connect server, I think, which I think they shut down. I don't think they run that anymore.
I thought they. But here's the question. I know there was another one. Merc, if you remember.
Merc? Like, I don't think ever.
Really? So it's MIRC. It's like the same.
Oh, MIRC. Yeah, I always called it MIRC.
Yeah, I call it Merc. So,
yeah.
But there was that.
I used that a bunch.
Yeah, I thought Merc they transitioned to that because wasn't that like the latest IRC chat in a way? But
yeah, MIRC was like it was the most popular one that I knew of when I was like first getting into the internet. And I remember, like, that was also where I first started learning how to program, because they had a scripting language, so you could learn how to script based on, like, reacting to text that people would type in chat. So eventually I, like, created I don't know if you've ever heard of a multi-user dungeon?
Yes.
Yeah. So I created something similar to that through IRC chat, where people could, like, oh, you're in this room and there's a bunch of stuff here. Do you want to go this direction, this direction, this direction? That kind of, like, early learning how to, like, process inputs and, you know, like, combat and stuff, and just, like, item inventory per person, all being recorded on, like, a stupid MRC script that I had written with like a variable, you know, they had like a variable database that you could, you know, it's just basically plain text and everything, but that's like where I first started learning how to, like, we had an Apple II GS at home way back in the 80s where I learned some basic, but that's like where I started up again, learning how to program. Yeah, like the whole point of getting on Direct Connect back then was like, you know, someone told me that there's some good videos, and I think the first one I watched was called the Jared Experience.
Oh my God, yeah.
Which is the Punch Crew from Smash Brothers, this Canadian group of players back in the very early aughts. They were like they were like the ones making the first combo videos for Smash, I think. I'm sure people have made them before, but these were the ones that seemed to be very popular. And I remember the Jared Experience blew my mind, because this guy, like, was drill shining Peach against the wall, which is like, you know, you do box, jump, down air, then do the shine down B attack, and that, like, stuns her, and then you can just jump, drill again, down A, and shine again, and you could just do that as an infinite combo against the wall, and she couldn't do anything. And I was like, wow, how's he even doing that? Like, and look, it's like 100-something hit combo, and then it leads to a kill, and, like, it was set to this really terrible, like, anime electronica music. It was like super weedy and stuff, but like was like, wow, like this guy must be like the greatest Smash Brothers player ever. And like that's where I started learning like, oh, there's techniques like L canceling and like chain grabs and stuff. And like that's like I immediately switched to Fox at that point because I was like, wow, Fox is like, he seems like the greatest character ever made. He probably still is to this day, but I'm sure there's like a lot of people will argue Marth or Sheik. I would actually probably argue Sheik, but yeah, I started playing as Fox and I started destroying my friend with his Sheik because I started learning like how to do like L canceling and stuff, and like shine spiking, which is like he tried to jump back on the stage. I just jump at him with the shine shield and it would just push them away from the stage. And like he got pissed, and then he started learning how to do this stuff too, and then we started, you know, escalating the rivalry and such. So I learned all that, and then I learned that there was a tournament in I forget if it was Roanoke or Williamsburg. I forget. It was something called Magfest, and Magfest is pretty famous now. But back then, I think it was called the Mid-Atlantic Gaming Festival. And it was like a combination of video games and musical performances and such from like bands like the One-Ups, who would do like covers of video game music. And they were hosting a Smash Brothers tournament. And I was like, oh, maybe I'll go up there and like play. And that's like I did, and that's when I met like because I was going with a friend who went there for I think CVS2. He was a big CVS2 guy, and I was like, I played CVS2, but I played it like, you know, like I was playing like Alpha 2 back then. I didn't know anyone who would play it, and I didn't like know how to get good at fighting games back then. So and I didn't play competitively. I was just like, oh cool, you play CVS2. I'll go watch you play. And then I went for the Melee tournament. And that's where I met the group called Al Capone's, which is a really, really, really old school East Coast group. And their members were Super Saiyan 4 Ricky, who's a really cool guy. And he played Link, and Link was super mid-tier at the game, but he played them like he was a top tier. Like, he's just really good at the game. There was Matt, who I think was the head of the group. There was East Coast Eddie, who played Ganondorf, and he was called East Coast Eddie because there was already an Eddie Ganondorf in the Midwest. So they had to call him East Coast Eddie. And then there was Bob Z. I think that's... he was called... His name was Bob, but I think they called him Bob Z or Bobs. I forget. And these guys were pretty cool. And, like, I was just watching Matt and Ricky play each other, and they were doing things I had no idea, like they were doing like techniques that I'd never seen in terms of like, you know, how to ledge hog and stuff. And I was like, oh wow, these guys must be the greatest Melee players ever. And you know, I played in a tournament and I did actually really well. I got third behind Matt and Ricky. And they're like, wow, you know, you should come play in Northern Virginia sometime to play like Melee, because there's this guy called Azin Zaganite, and he's like the greatest Melee player ever. He's way better than us. I think they came down to this tournament because there was another tournament that Azin and his group went to, and they were ducking them to win money in an actual tournament. You know, to be able to win a tournament, because I think back then Azin was dominating all the tournaments in that area. So I was like, oh, okay. And then that was sort of like my first introduction to competitive gaming, because I'd never done competitive gaming up until that point.
Right.
Like learning like small things, getting your ass beat, but like learning to play against a human, I guess is like, that was like the first actual time that happened, right? Other than like Counter-Strike or anything, but like in terms of a competitive sense, where I was actually try-harding or whatever. So that was like the introduction to quote-unquote competitive gaming, and then I went and I learned that there was going to be a big tournament, Getting School 2, which was like my first big Melee tournament. And that's where I met like a lot of the people from the Northern Virginia area or Maryland area, the MD, VA, DC area, as they called it. Maryland, Virginia district. And like they had like a crazy system where they were going to do a Swiss system like chess, where everyone plays like 8 rounds and who you play next is based on your record. And logistically that's a nightmare, of course, and given that Smash Brothers games can go on forever, they ran out of time. But it meant that I got a lot of games in. I didn't just go like 0-2. And I actually won a bunch of games. I just, didn't qualify for the brackets afterwards. But like, that's where I first started learning like, oh, these people are just outsmarting me. Like, I have all this tech skill with Fox now. Like, I'd been practicing like wave shines and shuffles and all that, and I could combo Peach like infinitely against the wall. But like, they were just like playing against me like in a way that I was like, I didn't quite understand. And that's where I started learning, they're reading the way that I tech roll after getting thrown down. They're reading the direction I always seem to go to and just punishing me for that. Like punishes basically and reads. And that was kind of like the next step for, okay, there's more to this than just tech skill. They're just beating my ass because I'm an open book. And like, I wasn't trying to read them, I was trying to play against the character at that point. Kind of like, because for a lot of it I was playing against friends, but like they would get like overwhelmed by tech skill. But if you're playing against someone who's dealt with it before, and they can just like, they don't worry about it, they can just read what you're gonna do, destroy you, and move on. So that's kind of like, I think that helped eventually with my Street Fighter play. Like that kind of experience in Melee, I do bring up the fact that like Melee taught me a lot about competitive like gameplay in terms of, don't just play the matchup, don't assume the matchup is bad and that you're gonna lose, that kind of thing. Or don't like, you have to play against the player, you have to like put some thought into it. You can't just react all the time. That was probably like, that was a really good lesson. Melee in general was like, I think helped me with, not just in terms of my tech skill, because I was like, I play pad on Melee, and Melee requires way more tech skill than Street Fighter, so I'm probably fine with Street Fighter on the pad. Because like, that Getting School 2, like, I remember like after the tournament, I think I played Melee for like 24 hours straight, because it was like a multi-day event, and like by the end of it my thumb was shaking. Like, because I'd been like playing so much, and it was just like, oh, that's new. I always say that kind of jokingly that it helped with like my ability to play on pad, but like it kind of did, I think. But it also like stoked a bit of like competitive knowledge in me that helps with Street Fighter now, I think.
Okay. So that so that pretty much ties in terms of how you got into competitive Street Fighting after, your stint in Smash Bros.
Yeah.
So I want to know, like, since, let's kind of like go through the pretty much in terms of, you jumped into the tournament already. So let's talk about the tournament, your tournament, your tournament runs and everything, right? So from you explained your first tournament for Smash, right? So what was I know in terms of like you got into not that long after you got into HDR.
Oh yeah.
I remember you telling me before in your in past talks that you kind of encountered like a lot of players on HDR. And
oh yeah.
Before I get into the tournament, what was the HDR run like?
Oh, okay. So let's see, HDR came out in like 2008, I think. Mm-hmm. And I was still playing a lot of Melee, but I was like, oh, cool, like Street Fighter 2, like Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, but with different moves and stuff, or different, modified, like a ROM hack, basically. It's like, cool, I'll give this a try, because it has like online play, and I was still a big fan of Street Fighter at that point. So I downloaded it, and the first thing I did was play online, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna be a troll. So I picked Honda, and all I would do is low punch and then start hugging people, and I'm like, oh man, these guys just want hugs all the time. And so I would do is just like tick throw people to death, and they would like rage. And I was just like, oh man, you're losing a Honda like this? Come on. Because I don't know, like I always like I picked Kirby because I thought it was funny that people were losing to a pink puffball, and then I picked I moved to Peach as my main at the end because one, I liked her playstyle, but two, whenever she won, she would give that win quote, oh, did I win? Just to like drive in the dagger, it's kind of funny. I did it, mainly to annoy friends with that quote, and to annoy friends with losing to Kirby. So I guess I kind of just wanted to be annoying. I don't know. It's just kind of funny to, people losing to Honda that way. But eventually, you'd run into players that it didn't work on, and then they'd make fun of you. And then like, oh wow, okay, I'm gonna learn how to get good. I'm gonna beat this guy's ass. So for like a while, like Honda was my main. Like Honda was my first main in when I got back into Street Fighter. Like for a long time it was Ryu. Like in terms of like all the Street Fighters, like I just played Ryu because I was like Fireball, Dragon Punch, Hurricane Kick. That's all you really need. But in this one, I was like, oh, Honda, maybe I'll just try him, and he seems fun. His moveset is pretty straightforward. They added the low punch headbutt to go through fireballs, and that was fun. When you could read someone was gonna do a fireball, you just throw out the low punch headbutt. They made a super not suck as well. I mean, it still sucked, but it wasn't as sucky. So yeah, Honda was my main, when I started HD Remix, and was for a long time. And I got pretty good with Honda. I actually I'm not a very technically super proficient Honda in Super Turbo, but I can play him in some degree, but just not crouching low kick to hands is not something I do on a regular basis. But it was all to just annoy people online and get hate mail and stuff. And then eventually I started playing with Mr. Ego Trip, and he thought it was funny that I was doing this. He's like, yeah, no honor, play with no honor. And he would do it too, and to annoy, and eventually I think that came into creating the No Honor crew, which is you see that on Facebook, and there's a lot of people in that, that quote-unquote crew online in HDR back in the day.
Yeah.
And then, like, one day I was playing, like, against this, like, control dictator, and all he would do is, like, head stomp into dive, into head stomp, into dive. And I was like he beat me doing this stupid tactic. And I'm like, wow, how's he doing that? How do I beat this character? So then I started playing as Dictator just to try to learn how to beat it. And then Mr. Ego Trip was like, wow, your Dictator's getting pretty good. You should just play him from now on. I think because he didn't want to play the Honda mirror. And so I did. And that's kind of where Dictator, that's when I switched to Dictator, is I learned the dumb head stomp stuff, but I also learned, like I saw online that they were like, oh, he has a touch of death. Okay, that's cool. I should learn how to do that. And then I did, and then I started just winning a bunch. I was like, oh, this is, and like I kind of immediately vibed with his playstyle. He's like flying around all over the place, and then he had the iframes on the Devil's Reverse, so you could get out of corner fireball traps that way with HD Remix. It was kind of like an immediate vibe with Dictator's playstyle, and it's like, okay, this is probably the character I want to play. So I played online a lot, and I got, really good. I think a lot of the melee experience helped in terms of, like, no longer am I just, like, a lot of what I do now is play against my opponent rather than play against the matchup. I try to just determine what my opponent's plan is, what their next moves would be if they're in this situation, and just try to beat the opponent rather than, like, worry about the matchup too much. Obviously, like, you still have to worry about the matchup in terms of, like, specific traps or, like, game over situations in the corner. But, like, I think I grew a lot because, like, one, I was playing online a lot, so this wasn't the situation before where I was, like, on SNES playing against the computer all the time, trying to get the Shin Akuma on Alpha 2. This is just me getting a lot of experience playing against a whole bunch of different people, and, like, yeah, it just kind of, like, I grew as a player just playing online all the time. You do ranked, and you're trying to get, like, the highest, up on the rankings. There were cheaters, so you couldn't get the top spots. But, like, I did pretty well on the ranked side for a long time. I was like, I want to get my rank up super high. For some reason, like, ranking doesn't really matter in HD Remix, but, it is... And I was having fun playing it too, so it was, like, the most important thing, I think. Like, it's just fun to get better, fun to play with other people, and fun to, like I would play with Fort Europa a lot, and we would we would learn and buy some things from each other. I learned a lot from him, at least. I don't know how much he's learned from me, but shout outs to him, because he was like, we would play all the time, straight crazy. Mr. Ego Trip, of course, who sadly passed. Voltec, that's where I learned a lot of the Chun matchup. And there's a lot of people I played, like Snake Eyes I even ran into a lot. And it sucked because I was on the East Coast and he was on the West Coast, and our connection was terrible. And, like, playing against HDR Zangief on a laggy connection is just like, yeah, that's GG. Like, you have no hope. You can't react in time. His green hand is just super fast, and it just, oh, I'm gonna green hand you into SPD, and you can't even react in time because it's like 200 ping.
Man,
a lot of good memories with HD Remix.
That's cool, man. I mean, I think the only memories I got of HDR was I did met like quite a few people. I mean, ironically, I did meet like Tech Monkey on there, and then
I've been running.
I met Tech Monkey. I met DGV, Royal Plush at one point.
Oh yeah, Royal Plush.
Yeah, Royal Plush. He beat my ass mercifully in that game. But that was like a while ago. Then I saw Jiggly Norris.
Yeah, Jiggly. I played him a bunch.
Yeah, I mean, there was a bunch of people I met on there, and I was kind of like, man, HDR was cool. Then, you know, alongside that stint, I think it was like dying because I feel like when GTPO first came out, that's when like I seen everybody sort of just like, I want to say jump ship. Basically,
right.
And basically, everybody jumped ship towards the GTPO, where you had the rollback netcode, where that was first introduced, and you know this was like huge because you know we were like dealing with delayed based netcode for like so long with other stuff. But rollback was first
on the PC, right? Yeah, it was first on the PC. Yeah,
it was first introduced on the PC.
Yeah,
and then
I think HDR had it too, didn't it?
HDR did actually.
I thought it did.
I thought it did too. I think it
felt really good to play.
Yeah, it felt pretty good, but I could say like it was pretty big because rollback was never on PC. So
yeah, like.
You had that rollback there, and then everybody was able to play everybody on there. I mean, the connection still from East Coast to West Coast still sucked. But it wasn't like
it was unplayable with with delay-based netcode. It's just unbearable. With rollback, it's just stuck.
Yeah, it just sucked.
But I remember hearing rumblings of like, oh, people are switching to GTPO, and I'm like, okay, but I still want to play like here. It's like I don't want to set that up on my PC. It seems like a lot of work. I can just play on Xbox and it'll be fine. Well, like at first I was on PS3, and like I actually had it on PS3 first, and like people are like, oh, you gotta play the 360 version because it's so much better, and I was like, oh really, how so? And they're like, the lobbies don't explode, and that was like, oh, okay, because like the PS3 lobbies would just sometimes just explode, like they would just die. And then the fun part is that if you were in such a lobby, if you then quit out of that lobby and join another lobby, you would like seem to infect that lobby and cause it to explode. And so like the only way to stop doing that was to like quit the game and reload it entirely. And I didn't quite understand why this was the case, but like eventually I grew tired of that. And the fact that they were saying, oh, these good players are all on 360, you should play there if you want to like stay your good. That actually, I think that was actually what drove me to get an Xbox 360, because I didn't have one back then. Like, I never had an Xbox. Like, I didn't have the OG Xbox. I had like a PS2 and a GameCube. And then I got a PS3, and that was, that was okay. It was a good Blu-ray player. It had some good games, but it wasn't like the PS2, of course, which was just like one of the best consoles ever made. But like they were like, oh, there's so many good players and the lobbies are better, and that kind of sold me on it. So then I was like, okay, I got a 360 and I started playing there, and I was like, yeah, actually this is way better. It just feels like they ported it to PS2 and developed it for Xbox or PS3 and developed it on Xbox 360, right?
Right.
Like the 360 was the native, and then the PS3 was like the port. That's what it felt like. And yeah, I played for a while, and then like I thought about going to the Evo, like, because that was the big, like, that was probably like the peak of HDR before it started trending down, right? The Evo that Snake Eyes won, right?
Right.
Yeah, I did want to go, but I was like, I don't know. It seemed like, that's one of the things where I do wish I went back then. Like, I probably could have done some damage in the tournament. Like, Dictator was kind of overpowered. I won't say he was overpowered. He was brought up to the level that he should be. I'll say that. And then I played Snake Eyes before. I don't think I would have beaten him, but I probably could have given him a run for his money. But that's assuming I could get past like some of the other bad matchups, like a Honda, even though like Dictator had the standing jab now.
Right.
The standing jab hitbox was extended for HD Remix to deal with Honda, so that you could just jab your problems away, kind of like Boxer does. But yeah, like I wish I'd gone to that. I did go to an HDR tournament in Virginia though, and I got third in that. I think Thello was there, and that was a lot of fun because we just had a lot of friendlies afterwards, or casuals, whatever. I mean, I'm mixing my Smash lingo and my Street Fighter lingo. We played a lot of casual sets, exhibitions, and those were fun. But that's the only tournament I ever went to for HD Remix. Other than I think you hosted one, but it was like a Super Turbo mode.
Yeah, that was the one that I think it was a total of maybe 25 people, 30 people was there, and the lineup was actually interesting. It had it had Damn Die, it had Money Claw, it had Carlitos from Texas, Sean SRK. Man, it was other people was in there. It was so much other people that was in there as well. It was pretty fun. It was a fun tournament, and that took place. When did that took place? I think that took place, I know, when I first moved out to New Jersey. So that had to have been COVID, I believe. So that had to have been COVID when that happened.
Yeah.
And I remember because, man, when I first did it, it wasn't bad. I mean, at first I was like, oh man, I was kind of feeling down because of the whole COVID thing, but man, that tournament lifted my spirits after all that.
Oh yeah.
And I remember, folks, when we did host it, I was kind of doing a challenge towards guys as well, in terms of playing it hey guys, you guys got to kill me within 10 seconds of this of this stuff. And I'm like, and then these guys really did it. That was the funny thing about it. They really did it, and it was the funniest thing. It was the funniest thing because I would say, I'll keep putting money in the pot if you keep killing me in 10 seconds. But man, that was good times, man. That was good times. But after that, what you was gonna say? After that,
so after that, once HCR kind of died down, I was like, all right, fine, I'll get on. People kept asking me to get on VGPO. It's all right, fine, I'll learn this game because it was just Super Turbo Vanilla at that point, or GMC, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And I started learning Super Turbo that way. And it was the same process. I just played a ton of matches, and I just play a ton online. And I'd play against anyone who wanted to play. Even people with 200 ping. I just try to learn. I'd deal with it, and I was like, okay, let's play. And it was just okay, I'm learning. He's not that different. He doesn't have the Devil's Reverse stuff. Oh, his Devil's Reverse is actually a little slower. One of the hidden buffs in HD Remix was that the Devil's Reverse and the Head Stomp flew at the same speed, so it made them more ambiguous. In Super Turbo, they fly at different speeds, so you can, if your opponent has good reactions, they can read which one it is. But that wasn't the case in HD Remix, so I had to learn that difference. I couldn't jab my Honda problems away and I just, had to cry in the matchup and deal with it. Yeah, it's just like, okay, he's not that different though. He still has the touch of death combo, still has mostly the same ideas. He doesn't have the OP jumping neutral punch that launches anymore, which was unfortunate.
Yeah.
That was probably one of the best moves ever created. I'm sure everyone loves that move. Ever played against a dictator? But yeah, I just started playing Fightcade, and then I got pretty good. I felt like I got really good. I was like, this was when I was like, okay, like I was using a lot of my melee experience to come up with like strategies of like, okay, let's see if I do this, like if I do this block string, the opponent has to like guess what I'm gonna do. But if they guess this, they lose to this. If they guess this, then I'm just safe. I started giving that kind of thought to like matchups. But I was still playing against the opponent because like one of the things that happens is if you just play the matchup, then if your opponent does things you don't expect, then you're just gonna lose. Assuming they're not like what you don't expect is them to just eat every attack and die. So I was getting really good, and then but I didn't go to any tournaments or anything. Like I just played online, like, and the thing that changed that was Atari, I think, and there's like Atari Yoga Boy, the ST Revival stuff, and they were starting Tournament of Legends 3. And like Tournament of Legends 3 was, it was like going to be an invitational tournament in Toronto, and to qualify you had to like place really well or win tournaments in the circuit. And I was like, oh, that's a cool idea. And if you win, you get on this poster, like saying that this person is a legend in the game, and they're going to be at this Tournament of Legends, and they're a legend. So it's like, okay. I told my friend, I kind of want to get on that poster, and like, so I just wanted to be, on that poster, and that was the whole goal of getting on that, of going to tournaments at that point, was just, I just want to get on this poster and be called a legend.
Yeah,
so
that was good times doing it. I mean, funny thing about that, all those qualifiers were pretty legit.
Oh yeah.
You know what? Let's continue talking about that, right? So you came to a qualifier, which is ironically in New York, right? In the Too Old, right?
That was the first Super Turbo tournament I ever went to.
Yes.
Too Old, Too Furious?
Yeah, Too Old, Too Furious.
Yeah.
And that's when I first met you. Even though we played, it's funny because we played a lot on GTPO, but that was the very first time that I finally met you, and I'm like, man, it was kind of crazy because
we played online a bit.
Yeah, but the crazy part was it was the instant connection that we had. It was just like it was just like we talked, and like, man, what ended up like, okay, we meeting each other, and like, man, we legitimately talked nearly the whole tournament. Yeah, kind of crazy.
It was just vibing. It was just like, oh man, this guy's a wrestling fan. Oh, we're gonna do some NWO. Like, you gotta do like. We still got to do the pose.
We do, man. Because fun fact, folks.
There are a couple that I think of, like we got it. The Too Sweet we've done before.
Yes.
But one I'm thinking of is the Diesel Shawn Michaels pose in the center of the ring.
I love that one. Yeah, we definitely.
Yeah, I feel like we got to do that.
We got to do that. We got to do that when we meet up, of course. To do that again. we sort of had an opportunity the last time, but things gotta fell through.
Yeah, things kind of fell through with like, oh, I have the key to the D&D and they didn't have a spare.
Yeah.
I gotta go back. Thanks for driving me, by the way. You didn't have to.
It was all good, man. I mean, to be real with you, it was like, I know you were coming and then, you would have to go back. But it was like, man, I was like to myself, man, I mean, I was thinking, I'm like, when we were there, I know we fast forward, folks, but just bear with me. It was like, when we were thinking, we was like, man, if he goes back to the city, I don't think it would make any sense to just say to come back. And plus, it was already like,
it was like a 45-minute drive, I think.
Yeah, and plus it was already late too.
Yeah,
so it was like, screw it. Let's just go to the city. I met the fam, and then we had a drink, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you met my sister, right?
Yeah, I met your sister that time, and I'm like, yeah, we had a drink and everything like that. We had in the city and all that stuff, and I think you were also worried. You were like, man, is it gonna take you long to get home? I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a bit,
Yeah, no, it literally took. So after I dropped you, after we hanged out, we chat, and then I left. It literally just took me like 20 minutes to get home because the tunnel was really right there, and then I was like, and then it's just a straight shot to my crib. So
yeah,
it was pretty easy. And the best part was, thank God it was late too, because that's when it's just virtually no traffic. So
yeah,
it was kind of easy just going in from there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was that night was fun. That night was fun.
it was fun. We didn't even play, but it was just fun hanging. Yeah, and that's sort of the vibe that we had when we first met. It's just like, oh man, this guy's cool. It's just like when I vibe with, when I picked up Dictator. It's like, oh, this guy's all right. We can talk wrestling. We can talk Street Fighter.
Okay.
We can talk about just random
anything.
stuff.
We can talk about anything. It was just kind of crazy, man. It was funny.
Yeah.
It was kind of funny. I think because the last time I've seen you before that was during COVID, and that was when you drove.
Oh, yeah.
This was before the move, and you drove from there to New York, and when we were at ETNG's crib, and then we were having these sets that was going on.
Oh yeah.
That was another fun time there.
Oh yeah, like fuck your Zangief,
Yeah.
Respectfully. Yeah. I think if you can force your opponent to hate your character, then that's like the biggest sign of respect that they can show you.
I agree. I
hate your Zangief.
I hate your Dictator. So it's just, I mean, I think it's just super lame, but I just think it is what it is. So.
Oh yeah, like super lame being the most honest character in the game. Yeah, I can see where you're coming from.
The most honest You know what? I'm not gonna get into it because this is a record. This is an episode.
We can.
I don't want to get into it.
We can talk for like hours about this.
I know, because there's a lot of layers between our arguments with that, and the layers will take a while.
Yeah, it seems belligerent, but it's all out of respect. And love. It's coming from a good spot.
It is, because I love this dude. I love this guy. I love this guy. I just hate his Dictator, but that's pretty much about it. I legit hate it. It's just you'll understand later. You'll understand later.
Yeah.
But let's get back to TOL3, right? So
yeah, I went to Too Old. Yeah,
you went to Too Old. You got second, but then
it was unfortunate.
It was unfortunate. It was kind of interesting.
It was fun because I went up there and I think it was like the first time I'd gone to any tournament. I was just perpetually online player, and they were like, I think they put me in the top seed as a joke.
Yeah.
And I brought my Xbox 360 controller. I believe I brought. Yeah, I think I was using the 360 controller at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And we were I remember I think where like it kind of turned in terms of like making fun of me was when I beat Josh. Love Josh, by the way, but like he played me with Boxer because I think he had saw me get my ass beat by the French boxer Maiko, the guy who like pisses off everyone for some reason. Like I've never had a problem with him, but like you know, he got, you know, like, you know, I was playing against Maiko's Boxer in like a 250 ping environment and like losing because it's just like a teleporting down rush at that point. And you're just basically guessing and praying, you know, when you do like moves. So I beat his Boxer, and that's when I think that's when I think the mood changed on that. In terms of like, oh, okay, he could probably actually play. You know, he's not just an online gremlin. He can actually play this game, and you know, he can play it pretty well. Yeah, like I think like, because I think the moment I can think it changed was when like Josh had like got me in the corner and he did the super on me. And he did it like, you know, I just blocked it, and then like he ducked, and he wasn't expecting me to just, you know, after that walk up and throw him. Yeah. Which I did, because I was like, I was just thinking, okay, at that point, what's the least likely thing he would expect me to do? He doesn't seem like the type to throw out headbutt immediately after the super, like other players. So I'm just gonna throw him, and I did. And I think that's when the mood kind of changed there.
It was funny because that whole scenario, we were just like laughing about the whole scenario about it, because the idea, so folks, why it was funny was the whole idea was, and shout out to Josh, by the way.
Yeah, Josh, I love Josh.
See, he was thinking that the whole time, you know, Reno was just some doctor, and basically he'll never come out. All he competed in was the whole Monday Night Turbo.
Oh,
I mean, not even Monday Night Turbo, Monday Night Fight Cage.
Monday Night Fight Cage. Shout
out to Surge. Before the rebrand.
Yeah.
He would say, yeah, there was like kind of like, oh, well, he only competes in Monday Night Fight Cage and everything like that. He has zero offline experience and everything like that. And we were like, oh, well, I mean, I guess, but the day that he showed up, everybody was like, oh shit, this guy is actually here. and then the fact that you came in the tournament and then you came with your 360 pad, and the one thing that what really stood out was we had two setups. Actually, we had more than two setups. Actually,
yeah. So, I think he had a third somewhere.
I think there was like 3 or 4, and
yeah,
the main ones was the two main ones was the one super gun that was in front, and then the other one was the two cabs. And then there were times like, you know, you would have to coin flip actually, which was kind of which was funny as hell.
Yeah, because they would make a coin flip to play either on the cab or the setup, because I brought my controller. And I think the one time, like I played on cab at least twice, I think.
Yeah, just twice. Because the rest of your matches were just right back on super gun.
Yeah, but like they have a picture of like how inexperienced I was at that point playing on a cab. I was holding the stick very daintily,
and like they have a picture of me holding it like, you know, like my hand in a claw with the fingers on the ball, like not even like these days I'm like I'm like cupping the ball in your hand, but back then it was just like all the fingers on the ball and like holding it very stiffly. I still won, which is hilarious, but like I was like, oh man, I'm not as good as I am on stick at that point, because I didn't own a stick, I didn't play stick, like I didn't want to pay like at that point I was like, why would I want to pay $150 for an arcade stick when I have this controller?
And yeah, it was just like, you know, I did pretty well, but like, yeah, I got second because Mars woke up at the end, and just beat me like almost maybe 6-0. Maybe I got a match in, like, because I was in the winners bracket on the finals, and yeah, I was like, oh man, that sucks. I was really hoping to qualify for, you know, Tournament of Legends. It's like, okay, I guess I gotta go to Evo. And yeah, I think you told me at some point, like later, years down, you told me that I actually qualified then.
You did, yeah.
Yeah, because Mars qualified some other way.
Yeah, so Mars qualified on, it's funny, Mars qualified on a Monday night, I think it was a Monday Night Fightcade qualifier.
Yeah, I think so.
He qualified through there, and the fact that he won again through 2 old, you already kind of qualified anyway because it went right towards you, because it was like second place basically.
Yeah, I had no idea, so I was like, all right, I'm going to Evo, but I had no idea at the time that I had qualified, so I was like, okay, I gotta go to Evo now, and this will be rough, you know, because there's going to be a lot of people there, way bigger tournament, so then I started practicing, and I actually started learning Stig, because I was worried they'd have, like, cabs at Evo to play on, but at that point they were just playing on the super gun setups. So I practiced, and then, like, went to Evo, like, after that, and yeah, I wasn't actually expecting to win Evo at that point. I was just like, I hope I can, like, put on a good show and, like, qualify in some way if, like, someone already qualified or, you know, whatever. But yeah, I kind of played out of my mind in that tournament. Like,
it was funny because you didn't really think about it at the time until you got there. But I'm pretty sure your name was on that poster, which was
I didn't know.
It was on that poster. So that whole time you were just like, you were just going off of, you didn't made it, but you made it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I was like, my goal is still to get on that poster at Evo. So it's like that's all I want to do.
I mean, it's funny because you still, regardless, because you still had. So remember, there was the LCQ. That was going on, and I believe you did you play the LCQ? I believe you did, right?
I don't think I did. You're talking about Toronto, right?
Yeah, in Toronto. I don't think you did. You just basically.
No, I didn't play it.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. You were already in it. I had to play through the I had to.
Oh right, yeah.
I had to play through the LCQ, and I was close to qualifying, but I lost. So. I ended up losing, and that's when I first met McCurry Ken during that time.
Oh yeah,
because he was in my pool.
Another beast.
Yeah, he was in my pool.
Fun.
That would have been that would have been fun indeed. It was funny because my pool had him. There was a dude named Oz. I think Nuki was in that as well. So it was like kind of Nuki. Really? It was kind of crazy.
Jeez.
It was kind of crazy.
That's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, it was. It was kind of ridiculous. So I was like weirded out, to be honest with you. But I still was like, you know, going through it. But that tournament was fun. Still weird because how the setting of where it was. And the fact that we all got kicked out after a certain hour.
Oh, so, yeah.
It was very it was very interesting.
They turned the lights out on James Chen, didn't they?
They did.
Yeah,
it was kind of because it's funny because they turned the lights out on everything. Like, not only James Chen, but the screens and everything, because he was commentating was it Street Fighter? What Street Fighter was it? Was it Street Fighter 5?
At that point?
Yeah, it was Street Fighter 5 at that point. So during that whole time, I remember because I think it was Daigo versus Shao Hai on stage, and that's when they just kind of turned off the lights on them, and everybody was looking all confused, talking about, oh man, what are we supposed to do now? Because apparently there was a curfew time in Toronto that you had to just leave. Like the convention closed at 10 p.m. So they was like, what was gonna happen? It was kind of crazy. It was kind of crazy, but that was a fun tournament because I know afterwards we all went to Atari's house and we had the Japanese legends with us, like Murasaki, Komoda, who else was there? Matsune.
Oh yeah.
Who else was with us? The Honda that I hate so much.
Name, all of them, right? That doesn't really narrow.
No. It's this specific one though. But yeah, I think it was Kusamando. That's his name. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Kusamando. So yeah, he was there too. And we were all there, and it was fun. That's when we met met Atari's wife.
Yeah.
And we were all hanging out, and then I remember we had to go back because I remember you had a call and you needed to go back. But the funny, I'll tell this. I'll let you tell this part. What was the funniest part about that one, though?
Okay. So if I remember right, we get into a cab or Uber?
Yeah.
Like a cab, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like we could have gotten there got back quicker if we just walked, because we were driving for 40 something minutes, and this guy's like, is it here? And we're like, no man, just use your GPS. Literally it's just an address. How are you not able to find this? You're a cab driver. You should be able to know this. And he just didn't. He was just getting lost. It took forever to get back. And we were just sitting there is this for real?
That's the funniest part about it. And all of that because when we were there, originally we were not gonna leave.
Yeah.
But we had to leave. But the problem was you didn't have your wallet because you left it at the venue. But I was like, and then you're like, oh man, we got to go back pretty soon. And I was like, don't worry about it. I'll take care of it and all that stuff. But we were out there for 45 minutes because this dude did not know where to go. And not only that, it took him a long time because we had to keep saying, dude, it's Rogers Center. That's where it's at. It's a damn Blue Jays baseball field.
Yeah,
That's where it's at.
It's how you're not able to find this it's like a landmark in the city.
You live here.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. You live here. My God. Oh.
Yeah.
That was so annoying. So
yeah, that was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. That was the best memory for us, though. We were always lost. Then we had to kind of school them. So
other than the whole Tournament of Legends itself, but
yeah, man. Oh my God. But okay, fast forwarding, you won Evo, right?
Yeah, it was, and that was I think that was I wasn't expecting to win, but that was the first thing I actually won, because I played Melee for a long time, and I played Melee and I was pretty good, but I was never at that level to win a tournament with a bunch of people in it. I won some weekly meetups and stuff where you're playing at someone's house and they host a tournament. I want stuff like that, locals basically, but never an event where Tomo, a player at Tomo's level, showed up. There was John Choi, Killer Miller, Promo, who I feared because he's Blanca. Let's see, who Young was in the top 8, I believe. There was
way too many like killers there. Boss, like I had to play through him to get to qualify. And Boss, Legends, CVS2, but he's like really good at Super Turbo as well. Like he's just, kind of good at old school gaming in general. So yeah, that was fun because that was like the first time I ever actually won a tournament. And I'm like, yeah, I'm finally on the poster. And yeah, I was like, okay, cool, this is, yeah. And then I qualified for Tournament of Legends, which I had apparently already qualified for. And went to Toronto. That was fun. That was my first time in Canada. Like you said, met Atari and his wife. I already met Atari and Evo because I played him in pools. I remember walking up to him. He was sitting down. We were the same size. And then he stood up after our set. And he's like, "Oh man, this guy is tall." I think the one thing that I have enjoyed out of all going to tournaments and stuff, and it's something you don't get from the online, is just meeting up with people. Meeting up with you, of course. That first time was amazing.
Yeah.
But that's also where I met at Too Old. I met you. I met Mars, of course. Super Bash or Super V. Yeah. Another person whose character I hate, and that's just out of respect, of course. But even playing him back then, and he was leveling up as the tournament was going on. Oh man, I'm gonna hate playing this boxer a lot. I already hated playing it back then, so it's just ugh. But that's just because it's good. I think. Did I meet Straight Crazy? Someone I played online a bunch. Did I meet Straight Crazy there?
You wasn't there.
Oh, he wasn't there?
Nah, he wasn't there.
Maybe I met his brother.
His brother was.
Yeah, that's right. I met his brother there, and we talked, and it's oh wow, this, because me and Straight Crazy were it's another situation where I vibed with someone immediately online. And what we would do is in HDR lobbies, he would do we'd do bison mirrors, and we would just do fake slide into each other for 4 rounds in a row. And it would just time us out, draw, and then we would still be because if a draw happens, neither player gets kicked off, and you just play again. And so we would do that to, basically annoy who else was in the lobby at the time. Yeah, and then at Tournament of Legends, you meet literal legends like Murasaki, Nuki, the Honda you hate.
Kusamando,
Shigatsu. Yeah.
Shigatsu, Matsu. Oro, yeah.
I had fun talking with him a lot at the tournament. I hate his Ryu.
Orphis. Yeah. Orphis, such a cool guy. Cool man.
Yeah, he's just a nice guy. A nice guy whose character I hate with a passion.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's oh man, he got the min damage on that throw that one round.
Oh man. Yeah. All right. So, good tournament talk right there.
Yeah.
So, let's talk about the FGC, right? Now, what do you think about the modern FGC as it is right now?
Oh, it's there's I'm not one to play a lot of the modern games. Mm-hmm. So, I have my opinions, and those are my opinions, of course, but it's also there's a lot of it's a lot of esports now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we play, we joke around about Poverty Fighter. Super Turbo is Poverty Fighter. You're not gonna make any money playing this game unless because there's no sponsors with Street Fighter 6, for example. It's just you have to be a content creator, to make money off of this game. Because like tournament winnings, that's not gonna happen. Like there's not gonna be like Street Fighter 6 money there. And so like, you know, I'm not a big fan of esports compared to like locals and like tournament organizers who've been doing it for a long time. You know, like, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of esports. I don't know if you can tell.
No, I can tell. I mean, I can understand as a whole, like, why folks don't really like the esports trajectory at this point.
Yeah, because it's like
it's weird because it takes away from. I feel like it takes away from the I mean, what the FGC really stood for is like the grassroots. And yeah. I always say, you know, never forget where you came from, because that kind of really plays prevalent into what it is. It's just that I feel like nowadays the reason why the FGC want to go to the grassroots way is because a lot of folks nowadays want to make it as a professional, you know, they want to make it as a profession basically. So yeah. Now you got like all these, you know, aside from, you know, Street Fighter 6, we had the first $1 million tournament in Capcom Cup last year.
Yeah. And
since then, I feel like now you have all these tournaments that is paying like the pot prize is like $3, $4, $5K. I mean, it still might not be enough, but that's like the first time you kind of see a lot of money like that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like things like that. It kind of plays a big role. And then and then I would say like afterwards, it's like, you know. And then afterwards, I would say, like, you know, esports as a whole, like, I can understand why folks want it as well, is because I would say it gives them a chance to try to be something into a team and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you get a chance in terms of trying to make it to esports stage, which, you know, by far is big. So now you got the chance of being, you know, on the stage of where you see people like do like CSGO, StarCraft.
Oh yeah.
StarCraft League, all that kind of good stuff there. So
yeah, I'm not denigrating anyone who wants that. I kind of wish there was more money.
Yeah.
In like just the grassroots and stuff. Like if I had the opportunity to play video games professionally, I probably would want to do that.
Right.
But like, I don't know, you also lose some of that, like, you know, like some of the, like, I don't know, the trash talk that, like, Josh had for me when I first came, to, like, Too Old, Too Furious.
Yeah.
And then, you know, he apologized afterwards, because he was like, oh, like, and I was like, oh, it's no big deal, because it's just, like, FGC, right? Just, like, you just kind of, like, I'm not saying that you can cross a line. You can't cross a line with it, but like, you know, you kind of have some thick skin when it's FGC related stuff, right? And I'm not, you know, it's more like talking, oh, you're terrible at this game, you know, that kind of trash talk, not like personal stuff, but you know, sometimes that flies too. But yeah, it has to come from a place of endearment, right?
Oh, of course.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of the FGC was. Even when talking trash to you, it's coming out of a place of respect or endearment. You know, obviously when we talk trash to each other, we're familiar like that, so we can do that. I wouldn't just go up to someone else and say, like, your geek sucks, or something like that. You know? Like, that would just be kind of mean. I don't know. Like, I remember the changes that would happen with, like, if you remember MLG,
yeah,
taking over Melee and Halo, I think.
Yep.
They were running those at the same time, and like they had goofy rules in some of the sets, like like grand finals wasn't like, you know, double elimination. It was just like you had to get up to 6 wins or something.
Yep.
Instead of like, I don't know, out of 11. Like they introduced some goofy rules. They had like stages that people like. I know the player Tope. I knew him like because he was like I would play him all the time, and we were friends. And this guy made it his goal, like in a MLG. He played in a teams tournament, and he counterpicked everyone to one particular stage from Earthbound. I forget the name of it, but it's the one with the houses and stuff and the cars going along the street. And he made it his goal to get that stage banned because he would just like cheese all the good teams with that stage and just show that, you know, if you play it with a certain characters that like he would play in certain like style, you just couldn't like cause it to not turn into a camp fest. That wasn't entertaining to watch at all. And like also was like just like an unbeatable strat. And he got that stage banned. Now I have some thoughts on, you know, the Smash, you know, like would ban a lot of stages to get rid of a lot of the fun. But those are my own opinions. You know, the community can do what it wants. But, you know, it's like they had picked those stages to, you know, remove, and I thought those were good stages to ban, but MLG had let them in. And then they learned very quickly why they were, like, banned.
Right.
And so you, like, I don't know, like, it didn't seem as, like, it didn't seem like a friendly environment when it was like an MLG compared to like a local or like something like Getting School 2 or the FB Melee series in the Midwest. I don't know. I think if people want to get rich, you know, they should be able to. Like, if the money's there, of course, and if there's like the interest and it's driving those big purses, then that's cool. That's good. But I do miss. I don't know. I leveled up so much from like locals in Melee, and like, it would suck if those got stuffed out because of esports.
I hear you there, man. But I would say, like, I agree in terms of esports. I feel like, I mean, sure, if you really want to, like, you know, earn money that way, I just feel like I feel like right now the money isn't really there as it's supposed to be. I mean,
yeah.
It's like it's there, but it feels like the problem is for fighting games, which is so niche, so it's such a niche hobby and all that stuff. It's like the money is not gonna be there as much as like StarCraft or League and everything like that, because the sponsors for those are like completely different than what Street Fighter or Tekken is getting at this moment. So it's like you're not gonna see that much. But I would say, like, now, I mean, yeah, like, currently what's going on, this weekend is the esports, the East Coast, not East Coast, the esports qualifier, pretty much, right, into, like, the grand finals. Like, that's happening in Saudi Arabia at this moment. So, I mean, and they playing for $1 million there, but it's like one of those, it's like I said, it's one of those tournaments that is like sponsored and everything like that. Like, I kind of wish they could do that for like the the retro tournaments, because I would think, like, I was like to myself, how many people would be out and about for that right there?
Yeah.
It would have been a lot.
Yeah, I would love to see, that kind of, just something like supporting like the history, you know, where these games came from, like to kind of like show you how the game has evolved, how the games have evolved, and it would be nice if I guess I'd be more supportive of esports if like some of the money that they claim to have would trickle into the locals that are running like all these tournaments.
I agree with you.
Those are like, it's like those are feeding in, they feed into the players that would then eventually become like esports pros and stuff, but the locals don't get a dime of this machine that, I don't know.
I agree with you. All right, so we reached to the end, right? Now, tell me this. Do you have any upcoming plans? Like, do you have any plans that were you trying to do, like, when it comes to, do you plan on attending tournaments pretty soon, or just, like, nothing really changed or so? Yeah. So, do you have any plans that's up and coming?
Yeah, I've kind of been absent from recent tournaments just because life, work. I'd like to go to EVO next year. I'd like to go to CEO next year. I am planning on Japan, like, just to kind of, level up, because I'd love to go to Japan, especially with, like, sadly, a lot of arcades seem to be, like, closing down or not becoming, not being solvent enough to stay up. So I'd like to go before that's, like, just to support that, So a Japan trip is definitely on the radar. I'd like to start streaming more. I think right now the only thing I've ever really streamed are like some Final Fantasy 14 streams. But, I'd like to start streaming like Fightcade or even HD Remix. Like, that'd be fun. Like, I have my RetroTink 4K, and I got a 4K streamer. So I was thinking, like, do I hook that up to the living room setup? So yeah, that's also like something I'd like to get more into. Just kind of get set up in the whole streaming area. Other than that, yeah, just continue working, continue living. Yeah, I'd like to make it to EVO and CEO next year, though. Those are and Atari's always talking about doing like a Toronto thing.
Yeah, basically bring back the Showdown, basically his invitational that he done before.
Yeah, if he ever does that, I'd love to go back up to Toronto because it was a lot of fun. Like Toronto,
yeah,
I had a lot of fun up there. Getting like weird Canadian syrup in the maple leaf bottles for friends. Yeah, the really crappy aquarium that they have, the Ripley's aquarium. Like Ripley's Believe It or Not.
Yeah.
Me and Dandine, was it Oro, went through there, like on our last days, and we're like, man, this is like, this is like, cause I grew up going to like the Monterey Bay Aquarium, and it's just like there's night and day difference. And I don't know. Even like the DC, like the Maryland aquariums.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool that dude's gonna do that, and let me know about the Japan trip, man. I definitely.
Oh yeah, if I go, we gotta.
We definitely gotta go. We gotta invade, man. The NWO gotta invade for sure, man.
Yeah, the NWO. Yeah, show up with. I got my NWO red shirt ready to go.
Yeah, I got the I got the black and white. So.
Okay.
We definitely doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Get our poses on.
Oh yeah, we gotta work on that.
Our hot dogging and grandstanding.
Yeah, we gotta work on. Wait a minute. I was supposed to ask you. So I'm pretty much Diesel, and you're HBK, pretty much, right?
Yeah. Okay.
No. So you gotta work on that.
Oh yeah.
Make sure that the legs are working for that.
Oh yeah, I can. I don't know if I'll be wearing chaps, but I think I'll be fine. Like, I'll get some. I'll make sure to stretch before I do the pose, so I don't break anything down there.
Oh my god, man. Well, listen, man. I appreciate it for you being on this episode. This one was a lot of fun. And,
it's a nice trip down memory lane.
It really was, man. Really is a nice trip down memory lane with this one. And I appreciate you being on this episode. Do you have any socials or anything that people could follow you by if they want to follow you, or?
Yeah, I have just my Twitter, which is Reno_MD. Don't follow RenoMD with no underscore, because that's just apparently an actual doctor in Reno. He has some follows from the fighting game community, so don't follow him. But so there's that. I actually, since I talked about streaming, right now I guess my, it's the same username for Twitch. The only thing I have on there is like Final Fantasy 14 clips though. So it might not be as exciting for people, but if they want to see a UCOB clear for Final Fantasy 14, clearing an ultimate, and being called a legend in that game, because that's how you get the legend title, then yeah, that's another. I seem to like the legend title a lot, but yeah, that's how you get the title, the legend in that game.
Nice.
So yeah, that Twitch would be Reno_MD there, and yeah, that's probably the only socials I have. I'm not not a huge social guy, but
nice. Okay, well, folks, the social for Reno will be listed in the description of the video, and pretty much in Twitch will be listed as there as well. But any last words you want to give the audience before we head out?
Yeah, I'd say, and we've talked about this before, like the fact that I was an online-only player for a long time, I think actually served as a good advantage for me. And I'd say that, like, if you want to get good at a game, like regardless if it's online or offline, the best way to get good at a game, like especially like Super Turbo, is to just play it a lot, play it, and just pick up experience. Like, and I will defend the fact that like online experience works pretty well, even in comparison to offline experience. Like, you just have to be smart about like not relying on moves if you're playing against someone with 200 ping and thinking that'll work against someone with good reaction times offline. I'd say online experience, especially in this age where we don't have like I don't have an arcade near me. I don't know about you.
I mean, the only nearest arcade for me is Brooklyn Video Games.
Yeah, that's pretty.
I mean, I still gotta travel to go.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah,
but it's okay.
Yeah, but you literally have the world at your fingertips with Fightcade to play against. France's strong players from France play there all the time. Yeah. Japanese players are even on there. So it's don't worry about the online part. Just get the experience and just play. And like if you want to get good at the game, that's really the best advice I have, is just play it a lot, because that's how I got good. And you just pick things up as you go, and it doesn't matter if it's online or offline. Experience is experience.
Facts. Well, yeah. I appreciate you being on this episode, my man. It's truly an honor to have you on here.
Yeah, it's an honor to be here.
And like I said, folks, if you want to follow this man, his socials are in the description of this video. And at this point, I thank you all for watching this episode. Me and Reno have to hop on the jet. We got to trim more of the fat. Yeah. And because we got some members of the NWO is kind of getting out of line at this point.
Yeah, we need to
Gotta trim the fat.
Need to trim them out. Yeah, cut them out.
Yeah, we gotta kick them out. We gotta trim the fat.
Yeah, the wolf pack has to be a lean, mean machine, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Like we running a business. Running a business. Except we beat fools, but these fools are beating us, and we can't have that. So
yeah,
we're gonna hop on the jet.
Got the private jet. Yeah.
Yeah, they hop on the private jet, and then we get Buff Bagwell. Tell him what's up with Steiner. So, that's gonna happen. So till then,
get a good math problem out of that.
Oh, yeah. So everybody, take care. Thank you for watching. And then tune into the next episode.
Don't write too much hate on my Twitter about Sonic, please. Thank you.
You're gonna get it. That's what I'm just saying.
Oh yeah, I think I am.
You're gonna get it. Take care, everyone. See you all soon.
Later.